In this session, I'll first briefly cover some of the limitations you might encounter when using this chart and animation setup as a template, both in terms of PowerPoint's capabilities and how animations are handled. Then, I'll show you how to update and manage the numbers in your charts and data bars. Let's start with the ordering of the toggles. As you'll notice, the toggles we just created on slides 1 through 3 start in the on position, meaning the green toggle is visible and the associated data is already showing when the slide begins. However, if you look at slides 4, 5, and 6, the toggles begin in the off state, meaning the red toggle is visible and no data appears until you click it. If we check the animation pane on slide 5, the one that was already there, we can see that the trigger sequence starts with off and then goes to on. That means the red toggle is visible first, and the data only appears when the user clicks it. Now, compare that with slide 2, the one we just created. Here, the triggers are flipped. It starts with on and then switches to off. As a result, the green toggle and all the data are visible immediately when the slide begins. But that's a simple fix, right? Just move the trigger group up above the other in the animation pane and you're done? Well, not really. Here's where the age of this tool starts to show. If you try to reorder the trigger groups by dragging one above the other, PowerPoint actually forgets the trigger assignment. That means you'd have to manually go back in and reassign each animation to the correct trigger, one by one. This isn't an impossible task, but it's definitely a frustrating one. Another thing to watch out for. If you try to relocate a trigger group beneath another in the animation pane, PowerPoint doesn't treat it as a separate group anymore. Instead, it merges it into the existing trigger, making it part of that group rather than moving it as its own. The same issue happens if you try to move multiple animations at once. PowerPoint can't distinguish between grouped triggers and regular animations when dragging them around, and it ends up scrambling the structure you've carefully built. The moral of this lesson is, be intentional with how you structure your animations from the very beginning. This is also why I've been consistently forcing us to rename, group, and organize every visual, chart, and element throughout the modules, because once things start stacking up, PowerPoint can get messy fast. It's all fine when you're the one building it. But the moment someone else needs to step in, or if you come back to it a few weeks later, it becomes incredibly easy to lose track of what does what, especially when animation triggers are involved. So take the extra time to stay organized. It might feel tedious in the moment, but it will save you a lot of time and headaches down the line. Moving on to the next issue at hand, updating the numbers. Let's head to slide 1 and try to make a quick change. Start by selecting the first segment of the pie chart, then right-click and choose Edit Data. This process is smooth and straightforward. Just update the numbers to reflect your new data. No need to adjust animations or layout. Now, if we glance at the animation pane, we'll see that nothing has changed. The animations are still working exactly as intended. That's because this chart is still connected to Excel internally, so PowerPoint handles the update for us nicely. But let's head back to slide 2 and try doing the same thing there. And here's where the problem starts to reveal itself. As soon as you edit the data on slide 2, you'll notice a frustrating behavior. All of the group chart elements that we previously deleted for each trigger group come back to life. Essentially, PowerPoint rebuilds the full data set into the animation group, undoing all of our careful work from earlier. That means you'll need to go in manually and delete each of the extra lines again after updating the numbers. This is definitely a disappointment, as it significantly limits the reusability of this setup. It turns what should be a quick data update into a tedious maintenance task. Luckily, PowerPoint still remembers that the one line we originally kept is set to Start with Previous, so you can quickly identify it. When looking at the animation pane, the extra animations that were added back will now have a number to the left of them, while your original one won't. But you have to delete each one of the lines every time you update the numbers. So while it's manageable, it's not exactly efficient, and definitely something to keep in mind if you plan to reuse this structure regularly. Lastly, if you want to update the numbers in the floating data bars, there's one small but annoying issue. If you try to click directly on a data bar, you'll most likely grab the label on top of it instead. To avoid that, go to the selection pane and temporarily hide the data labels by clicking the eye icon next to them. Once they're hidden, click directly on the data bar to update the number. Simply selecting the bar in the selection pane isn't enough, because when you try to type in the new number, you'll still end up selecting the label if it's visible. So, hide the label, update the number, and unhide the label when you're done. You can now take some time to practice by playing around with slides 1 to 3 and try setting them up exactly like slides 4 to 6. This is a great way to reinforce what you've learned so far. But if you're already comfortable with everything, feel free to go ahead and delete slides 1, 2, and 3. We'll be using slides 4 to 6 as our base moving forward. That way, we can keep things clean and focused as we bring the menu in and finish building this interactive data tool in the next session.